The Minnesota Timberwolves defeated the Phoenix Suns 126 to 109. This game was entertaining in the first half. It was very competitive. Both teams were going back and forth. I believe there was several lead changes in this game. So both teams were not relenting, at least in the first half. Every time the Wolves went on a big run, the Suns would answer on their own run from their top guys in Durant, Beal, and Booker. All three of those guys had a good game statistically. Going into halftime, the Wolves managed to get like a 6-point lead. Still, even with that lead, you were thinking that this game might be close in the second half, that the Suns are going to be fighting for their lives. They're not going to give up easily, and that it'll come down to a probably 5 or 6 point margin of victory for either team at the end. That's what you would be thinking, but the Wolves just choked them out in that third quarter. What I found interesting is that the Suns' big three actually had a good game overall. Just they all shot, I think, 50% or above from the field. Booker, Beal, and Durant. But the Suns still lost that game by 17 points, and at one point in time they were down by 20 or more. Some people would ask, like, how did this happen? I would say the biggest thing was Minnesota's edge on the rebounds. Phoenix could not manage to compete with the Wolves when it came to getting rebounds. The Timberwolves as a team had a total of 50 rebounds, while the Suns only had 28 rebounds. And it gets even more depressing if you're a Suns fan when you look at the offensive rebounds that the Suns gave up to the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves had 15 offensive rebounds. That's ridiculous. So that's really what did them in, I felt, really, was they just can't compete with them on the boards. They're too undersized to do that. That's a big issue. The Wolves can shoot worse than the Suns, and they could still manage to beat them simply because of their rebounding margin. Now, the Wolves shot good as a team in this game, 49 from the field, but the Suns also shot good as a team, 46. So you wouldn't think that they're going to get blown out, but it really comes down to rebounds, and they just can't win that battle. A few observations I made about this game is that I really like how the Wolves are using Gobert throughout the playoffs on the offensive end. He's never been a great offensive player, but they're really looking for him for the easy lob plays, easy layups, easy cutters. Just that does a lot to teams' defenses, that it really scrambles them. And it puts a lot of pressure on them when they have to fear Gobert as a lob threat, at least that they have to cover him, so it doesn't allow them to really cheat off of him. Like I felt in the past, teams would try to do that, but you see Michael Conley making the effort to punish them in that regard, and the Wolves as a whole are finding Gobert when he's open for the easy buckets, which is very helpful. It puts more pressure on the defense. I like how they're doing that. I'd say Michael Conley is very underrated, the way he runs their offense. I like the way he runs it. It's like a traditional old school point guard. He has perfect balance. Like he knows when to get guys involved, and he also knows when to drive into paint to get easy baskets. He's very underrated. I just like what I see out of him. Anthony Edwards continues to impress. He had another great game in this series where just he dominated. 36 points on 12 for 23 shooting. Very efficient. The only knock you could say on him in this game was his turnovers, which he had 5 of them, and his bad 3-point shooting, 1 for 5. But overall, he had a great game. So you give him credit. He's only going to get better as long as he continues to have that hunger to be great. There's no limit on what he can become. So that's an interesting story to watch. I feel this is kind of like a passing the torch moment for Kevin Durant to Anthony Edwards. That Kevin Durant is like the old guard, and Anthony Edwards is like the new young rising star. And it's cool to see that. Just I enjoy seeing that when an old star is put out of his misery. It's kind of like old Yeller style, just to see an old guy taken out by a new guy. That's one of the interesting storylines of the series. But the Timberwolves are going to win this series now, obviously. It's like a no-brainer. I had to win the series before it started, but I didn't think they were going to sweep the Suns. So this is even even a little bit more shocking than what I had expected. But you have to give them credit. They showed a lot of maturity with having the killer instinct in this game. It's easy to get complacent, comfortable in game 3 and just not go for the win when things are tough. But they didn't fold in this game, and you have to give them credit. They're looking very dangerous. It's going to be interesting to see them versus the Nuggets the next round. Obviously, we got to wait until these series are over, but it's really a formality. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they prepare against Jokic and how they defend against him and the rest of the Nuggets. That's going to be an awesome matchup. So that's all I have to say about this.